Hello, BookTube. Many months ago, when NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, salted the ground on which it stood by putting out a horrendous announcement saying that not only was it in favor of artificial intelligence writing the novels that would then compete in NaNoWriMo, but that you're a bigot if you're not in favor of that. Immediately, thousands of people around the world who had for decades done NaNoWriMo started looking for alternatives, groups of their own, splinter writing groups of their own. I don't have any idea what the internal numbers are for NaNoWriMo, but I would imagine that this year, only a small fraction of the people who participated 2 years ago are still participating. But I'd like to think that the writing is happening at the same pace. Thousands of people just making their own writing groups. And of course, when it happened, I made a video about it and also floated the idea of making a writing group of my own. Because in this little community here on this channel, I am endlessly interested, nosily interested in, well, I'm nosily interested in everything that you're doing, but I'm really interested in what you're reading, but I'm equally interested in what you're writing. So it seemed like the natural thing to do. I have a little bit of experience being in and also proctoring writing workshops. So it seemed a natural thing to do to spin off a writing group, especially since at periodic intervals in the course of this channel, although not often enough, according to a lot of you, I have made videos urging you to write and to talk about writing. So I hemmed and hawed, and I had ideas, and then I shot them down, and I would periodically think about what form it would take, what the practicalities would be. A number of you emailed me enthusiastic about the idea, and a number of the people who emailed me were just assuming that the way to do it would be to set up a Discord server. But I don't know how much you know about Discord servers, but if I set up a Discord server for a writing group, any of you can talk to anybody else. I don't even have to be there. And of course, if I set up a writing group, it should be monomaniacally, solely, morning, noon, and night, revolving around me. It shouldn't be anything approaching a rabble of democracy. I want every birth certificate. I want every proposal of marriage. I want every obituary to be about me. Plus, I don't know how to work a Discord server. So I don't think that it's going to be Discord. But then again, I don't have the mechanics set in stone of what I want to do. But in 2025, I would like to do that. I would like to set up a Steve Tiberius Donoghue writing clinic. Over the years, I have grown quite disenchanted with the idea of, and also even the term of, a writing workshop. It can be done well. William Gallagher does it well over on his channel. But I know too many stories from the last 10 years in writing workshops. I have heard too many stories about them to want to call this a workshop. Besides, this isn't a mutual admiration society, right? The reason that we would be sharing our writing in progress with each other would be to fix it, to improve it somehow. A little here and there, or a lot. Major strokes. And that's what you do at a clinic. So I thought we would at least I know that it is time, long since time, for you to visit your Steve Tiberius Donoghue clinic. And then I was thinking, well, okay, so you know what you want to call it, and you know at least one venue where you don't want it to happen. I don't want Discord. I don't want to set up a Discord server for the STD clinic. Instead, I'm figuring there's got to be another way to do this. Like, for instance, a dedicated live stream once a week for the people who are in the clinic. Or just emailing me. Emailing me seems... I want that anyway. I want you all to email me every little detail of your lives. But emailing me seems like a partial solution because you can't email each other there. And although I want this to be a ruthless dictatorship, I do want everybody talking with everybody about their writing. So I guess I'm leaving the door open for somebody to convince me that maybe I can domesticate Discord and make it work for me. I don't think that's true, but the practicalities aside, the thing itself need not wait on hammering out every last detail of the specifics of how to work it. I think. I've let way too much time go with this. In my own defense, I was given not one but two huge writing projects right around the time when I was planning on organizing this thing, and you'd think that that would dovetail well with a clinic where I'm talking about writing with other people, but they demanded a lot of time and attention, a lot of resources, a lot of research, and they paid. So I prioritized them. But I'm thinking as I get older, as I approach 30, I'm thinking I can handle both. I'm thinking that I probably undersold myself. If I'd worked a little harder, you're worth a lot of extra work, that I could have handled both. So I want to try that, starting in March. The Steve Tiberius Donoghue Clinic. So what I want you to do is get in your little Toyota Bug and drive to the clinic's parking lot, walk in, and take the clipboard that they hand you to fill out the details. I know some of those organizing details already. I know some of them. That we're going to have to be we're all going to have to be on the same page about these organizing principles in order for you to even want to be part of the clinic. Because I'm not going to butt heads, and I'm not going to put up with palace coups. There, as you know, if you are a writer, writing tends to bring out strident opinions in lots of people. And I don't want to deal with those things. Of course, I don't want to deal with those things. So I thought I would propose some guiding principles at first, so that if you hear them, if you're thinking maybe the idea of a writing clinic might appeal to you, and then you hear these and you think, oh, no. Well, then you have a perfect indication of how you should not sign up. You should not be part of it. In other words, if you hear these principles, these guiding ideas, and you think, oh, no, that's all junk, I'll sign up and fix it. Kindly don't. Okay, kindly don't. I don't know how much experience you have watching my videos, but if you watch a few of them, you can then ask yourself, does this person seem like he would take well to being bullied? So guiding principle number one is something that I have talked about on this channel many times before. It's a simple observation. I can prove it. I can demonstrate it. I can defend it. You can't defend the opposite. So I'm hoping there's no argument. If there is argument, it doesn't belong in the clinic. We can argue on our own, but I don't want to argue once we start sharing work. And that first proposition is that there's no hierarchy of literary forms. It's not like one kind of literature is inherently more worthy than another kind of literature. It's all about execution. So, Criminali's beloved trash. Well, you might, from your seat of snobbery, say, well, surely that is a lesser kind of literature than a history of the Roman Empire. Having written neither. Having tried to write neither. Good trash, believe it or not, such a thing exists. I hope that we show you that every August with Garb August. Good trash takes talent to do. Bad trash doesn't, but bad anything doesn't. So, guiding principle number one is there's no hierarchy of literary forms. All literary forms are the same. It depends on execution. Everything depends on execution. It's not like you're getting extra dignity points if you choose a work of biography to write, as opposed to choosing contemporary rom-com. In other words, two things. One, at the Steve Tiberius Donoghue Clinic, all types of writing are welcome. That's one inference that you can draw from this philosophical tenet. And the other, far more blaring inference that you can draw, the thing that's on a plaque over the doorway, is that therefore, no snobbery. None at all. Now, I hope for people who know this channel that would go without saying. I hate snobbery. I hate it. I hate snobs. I hate the sinner and I hate the sin. I hate snobbery. So, tenet number one is, since there is no hierarchy of literary forms, the Steve Tiberius Donoghue Clinic will have no snobbery in it at all. And then tenet number two, it's actually connected to tenet number one. I have also said it on this channel many times. Tenet number one, there's no hierarchy of literary forms. Quite a few people have given me pushback, but tenet number two, a tidal wave of people have given me pushback. A tidal wave. And they are as wrong as the first group. I am right about this. I have done more thinking. I have practiced more in the field than any of you on this subject. I know that I'm right. I have demonstrated it over and over again. And tenet number 2 is that there's no such thing as creative and non-creative people. That doesn't exist. This is just a matter of practice. Like most things in life, this is just a matter of practice. It's possible, maybe, that what we would call a creative person has a more freewheeling imagination. That might actually boil down to neurology, which of course would mean that there is a fundamental distinction. But I have known that thing, whatever it is, that difference in the size or the capacity of someone's imagination, I have known that to count for very little when it comes to actually writing. It counts for very little. Some of the writers that I have known who had the best, freest imagination were terrible writers. And some of the writers that I dearly love, that I've read more than any other writers in the world, that I've read and reread so many times that I barely even know I'm reading them when I read them now, had precious little imagination. So I don't think it's really a germane concept. There's no such thing as creative and non-creative people. The people who are, a lot of the pushback that I got about this subject over the years has been from people who consider themselves non-creative. Oh no, I'm a reader, not a writer. Oh no, I'm no writer. Oh, I don't know. I'll leave that to other people. That is just defeatism talking. This is a muscle, not anything else. The more you write, the better you get at writing. All aspects of writing, not just dangling participles, but creativity. Spooling out a plot, thinking up alternatives, letting your imagination go free. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And so I want that to be a philosophy of the Steve Tiberius Donoghue Book Club, but our clinic. But I want it to go hand in hand with an obvious ancillary statement, which is that although there's no such thing as creative and non-creative people, I'm saying there's no such thing as creative and non-creative people. It's just a question of practice. It's just a question of muscle. How good a shape is your muscle in, your creative muscles, which will solely be an exponent of how much you use them. There's no such thing as flying in out of nowhere after years of rustiness, doing something brilliant, and then flying out again for a few more years. It's nose to the grindstone or it's nothing. So I'm saying that there's no such thing as someone who's just fundamentally uncreative. But by the same token, levels of experience matter. The more you've done it, probably the better you are at it. Certainly, I would hope the more you've done it, the less intensely, awkwardly personal you take your own writing, so that you are able to put it on a table and watch other people poke at it. That would be great, because if we can't do that in a writing clinic, then I don't know what we would be doing. We can't be tiptoeing around each other's stuff. That won't work at all. And that actually flows into the third thing, the third basic tenet of a writing clinic, is what we're going to do in the writing clinic. What are we going to do? And of course, we're going to be, I view it as in two ways. The very first thing, the fundamental thing, the thing that we'll do if we don't do anything else, the thing that we'll want to do even if we don't do anything else, is talk about our writing and each other's writings, not necessarily read. That's why I'm calling it a clinic instead of a workshop, because I view it as a place where people can come to say, I'm writing X. Let me describe what X is. I'm not going to recount X. I'm just going to describe what it is. And then I'm going to describe some issue, some question, some problem. And we're all going to respond according to our different levels of experience along those lines. What about if you tried this? What do you mean by that? This seems a little unclear to me. See how all of that can happen without reading, without workshopping anything. I think that would be really valuable and a lot less of a time commitment. One of the problems that I've had with informal workshops over the decades that I've tried to do them, usually in Simonstat format via people's snail mail, was that it's a huge time commitment. Someone is sending you a chunk of stuff. You've got to read it critically. You've got to annotate it. You've got to have cogent things to say about it the next time you talk about it. And with the best of intentions, that's usually a bridge too far for a lot of busy people. Whereas the first part of a writing clinic would be not that. It would be a place you can go to talk about your writing. Here I am thinking about the various discussion forums of NaNoWriMo's website, which is the only part of NaNoWriMo that I actually miss. I can't legitimately miss the rest of it since I'm not a machine. But I do miss those discussion forums. They almost never took the form of people saying, I'm having a problem with chapter 30, why don't I send it to you? No, it was usually, I'm having a problem with chapter 30, why don't I describe the problem for you? I'll describe the work a little and I'll describe the problem. Those forums could be wonderful for that sort of thing, and I miss that. I think that can be very helpful. A lot of people that I know, maybe some of you, who do write, they're a million light years away from thinking about an agent or even self-publishing. They just write because they like it. That can easily happen. Those of you who think you're non-creative, those of you who've never tried writing, let me be the millionth person to assure you it is a feeling like no other. Once you start to do it, you will love it enough to keep doing it. I have a feeling that a lot of people who are in that position, they might be years and years away from anything professional or even amateur, but I have the feeling that even so, writing means something to them and they don't have anybody to talk about it with. So this clinic would be a place where you can go and talk about your writing and maybe get some encouragement, maybe get some pointers from people who have more experience, or even people who don't have more experience but just have the exact right thing to say at the exact right moment. That would be great. And it would open the door. The door would always be there for people, either to me or to each other, to take the next step and actually share written material, to workshop. But the workshop wouldn't be the default position of the writing clinic. Instead, it would be the extra step. Okay, you've intrigued me enough. I know my schedule. I like you enough. I think I want to read some of what you're writing. But that wouldn't be the default. The default would be, let's just talk about our writing and what we're thinking about it, what we like, what we've done, what we're having problems with, what other people think about a certain idea. I think that would work somehow. I don't exactly know how it would work. I don't know the specific mechanical details. It's possible that this coming week I may have, tech discussions. And maybe one of those could be, what is Discord? Is there any way that I can domesticate it to do what I want without doing anything I don't want? It's possible. And you are all free to open that discussion with me in my email as well. But those three things are the things that I sort of had in mind. The big load-bearing columns for this writing clinic. That there's no hierarchy of literary forms, so there will be no snobbery. I picture a nightmare scenario where we're in a clinic, we've got a bunch of active voices. Someone says that they're starting a meet-cute rom-com, a contemporary meet-cute rom-com. This would be the kind of writing clinic where if anyone's response to that is, well, who cares what you do? It doesn't have to be good. That person gets the boot. Not the person who proposed the rom-com, but the person who made the snobby comment gets the boot, or is not there in the first place. So that would be part one. Part two, of course, would be any kind of writer at any stage. There's no such thing as people who are inherently creative and people who are inherently non-creative. So even if you just have an idea and have not put one word to paper, you could still do this. And the third thing being that there would be levels of response. I'm thinking we would all be there. It would all just be a listening ear type place at first. And then if people want to do the extra commitment of reading and workshopping something, they could. And I could as well. I don't have, despite what I say all the time in my videos, I don't have all the time in the world. And in 2025, of course, as a freelance writer, I am actively looking to have less time. Another big writing project, a paying writing project, would suit me right down to the ground, and that would limit my time. But nevertheless, those three things, and then some idea of how we would work this, how we would all be together in this, as opposed to me just making videos. How would that work? I was thinking of a whole bunch of alternatives. It's possible that we could do a private Discord server probably would work. Also, a private Voxer group would work. Or maybe in addition to whatever else we do, I do a regular writing clinic video every week, raising no specific names, no specific projects, but rather issues that have come up in that week and talking about them a little. I've written a lot in my life, a huge amount in my life, a huge amount of nonfiction, first of all, which is a matter of public record, but also a huge amount of fiction that is not a matter of public record. I've only had 2 pieces of fiction published. I've only tried to have 2 pieces of fiction published, but non-published, a gigantic amount of fiction. And I've also taught writing workshops quite a bit. So there's a hard kernel of experience there to build something around. So what should we build? What form would this clinic take? Let's get the ball rolling so that by March, at the latest, we can start this. So feel free to email me. Feel free to fill the comment section so you can comment with each other. And let's figure out the details of what we want. You all know me, most of you who aren't newcomers to this channel, know me well enough to know what I don't want. I don't want snobbery. I don't want to be bullied. And I don't want that one particular person in any gathering, in any classroom. Oh my God, I used to have crosshairs for this kind of person, this kind of a-hole, who wants to just dominate things, who wants to just dominate everything. And despite what this video sounds like, I don't want to be that person. But I don't want anyone else to try to be that person either. So you all know, a lot of you know me well enough to know the things I don't want this to be. But what can we make it? Let's start talking about a writing clinic so you can all go to the clinic in March. You really need it. Anyway, just some thoughts on the idea. Let me know what you think, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.